Absolute pleasure now to welcome on one championship welterweight champion, Ben Askren. And Ben, I do appreciate the time. I know you're suffering a little bit from jet lag over in Singapore. How's all with you, my friend? First of all, great to have you on the show.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, a little jet lag, but that happens when you go halfway across the globe.
Definitely a huge fight coming up for you. Obviously, it didn't end in the way everyone wanted to end the last time. Looking at the first fight, how do you assess everything that went on in the first fight with Louis Sapo?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too much of a fight. We went at it for about 2 minutes. I think 2 minutes and 16 seconds was the official time. He had some success stopping my takedowns, but again, we were only 2 minutes and 16 seconds into a 25-minute fight. So, I really thought he was getting tired, and I don't think the eye poke hit him too bad. And he wanted to be done with the fight, and that's how I saw it.
Yeah, you said recently, I listened to an interview you did with another outlet, and you said you don't have much respect for him after what happened with that incident. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, he was faking the eye injury. He was acting like he couldn't speak English when I know he can. We have some mutual acquaintances. Know he speaks English. So, when you sign a contract to get in a cage and fight someone, you got to honor that contract. And when the ref says, "Can you continue?" and you can, but you say no, I don't have a lot of respect for that.
And when you look at it as well, and it's the first time in your career in the cage, your hand hasn't been raised. Was that a strange feeling for you on that night? Not having your
Yeah, definitely was. I'd say a very unfulfilled feeling. Uh, do all that training and you plan something to go a certain way and it doesn't. And, it wasn't like I just got beat fair and square. It was like I didn't have the opportunity to win. So, yeah, it was a little frustrating.
And your actual performance itself, a lot of people, were a little bit critical of your performance. He stuffed a lot of your takedowns earlier on. Is there anything you can take or learn from that situation and looking back at the fight now itself?
Yeah, I should have. You know what? I just didn't respect his takedown defense enough, so I was being super over aggressive with my takedowns, and that was kind of one of the things that let him stop
Yeah.
me. So if I was tighten things up a little bit, I would have got the job done. And lesson learned, but it's like I said, it's 2 minutes into the fight. It's
Yeah.
less than 10% of the fight. It's nothing.
And Ben, he's been your biggest challenge since you've been over at one championship. Talk to me. There's a question I always like, asking guys who fought over at one as well. The adjustments you've had to make going over there with the unified rules against the global rules with the soccer kicks on the ground. What is the level of adjustment you have to make in order to, take into account for that element of the game in case it goes that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually like the global rules a lot more. I think they make a lot more sense.
Yeah, definitely
Uh,
scoring.
the scoring makes a
Yeah.
lot more sense. The kicks, the knees on the ground. I mean, with all the things you need in MMA, there's not really any really good reason why you shouldn't be able to kick a knee on the ground, except for the fact that when they were trying to get it legalized in America, they had to kind of neuter the rule set to make everyone happy. So, not too much. It's kind of intuition. Hey, you're laying on the ground, the guy can kick you. Don't let him kick you. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, it hasn't been a huge transition.
Do you think if you're ever, and I presume one day we're going to see you fight back over in the United States? Is that something that they should really take into consideration? Because we've seen there's been so many problems with scoring issues. We know the global rules are scored differently. Is that something you definitely like to see back in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I
Just
think it's
more, just
definitely a
not
more
even
fair.
not even a complete change of the rule set. Just adjustments in order to score the bouts, in a different manner.
Yeah, the scoring system in America, everyone knows it's broken, but no one's really stepped up to fix it yet, and it's on a 10-9 scale, and there's no reason it's on a 10-9 except because that's what boxing was on,
Yeah.
and I don't think the 10-9 works for mixed martial arts when you only have 3 rounds in a lot of fights. So definitely would be in favor. I think a lot of people are in favor of changing that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Anyway, what have you done? Obviously, you've been over with Duke Rufus and the guys back home. You're back over now in Singapore with Evolve. Where do you shore up? Are you the kind of guy that, in your training, you work more on your strengths than in trying to look for that stand-up? Because we know how good your wrestling is, obviously, and, your jits game is very solid as well. What have you been really doing in the build-up to this fight?
I mean, I just getting better everywhere. That's what you got to do when you're a athlete in any sport. You want to try to get better everywhere, and that means getting better at your strengths and getting better at your weaknesses and figuring out how to make everything work together. And so for me, one of the biggest things I was focused on is striking defense. If someone can't hit me, they can't beat me, and that's the fact. They're not going to go harder than me for 25 minutes. They're not going to out wrestle me. They're not going to out grapple me. So, big area of focus for me is always my defense.
Definitely. I want to just move away from the actual fight itself for a moment. I'll ask you a couple of questions. Obviously, financially, you've said you're very well looked after by one. When you look at things like what's going on with the UFC with the Reebok deal at the moment, do you think you've made the right decision and things like that? Because obviously a lot of fighter unrest with the whole sponsorship. Do you feel as you've made the right decision to go your own route?
Yeah, I mean, at the time I made the decision, it was the best decision I could make. But every day and every month that passes is kind of looking a little better and better. I mean, the UFC is just making more and more missteps. There are more and more guys fighting out their contracts to see what they get in free agency. So yeah, definitely the right decision.
What are your thoughts on the Reebok deal? Because obviously you know a lot of the guys in the UFC at the moment. Do you think the UFC have really messed up here from a fighter standpoint?
Yeah, it sucks for the fighters. It's terrible. None of them like it. They're not making any more money. They're losing money, and there's no autonomy in it.
Do you think there's something that you can do to make it up to the fighters? Because we're, obviously with Scott Coker at Bellator as well, there's talk of a lot of guys going to make that transition next year. Guys who are out of contract possibly in 2016.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, it's definitely gonna help Bellator. That's for sure.
And how's it been for you? Obviously, one championship, Asia's, mixed martial arts scene has really blown up. What's it like being on a sponsorship level for you? Have you been able to pick up sponsors, in the local market in Asia? Have your guys at home been loyal to you and stuck by you? What's the situation been there for you with a sponsorship?
Yeah, I got some solid sponsors from back home still. The MMA is kind of newer in this area of Southeast Asia, so the big sponsors are just starting to hop on
Yeah,
board. So hopefully, I'll be picking up a couple of them with not too much time.
yeah, definitely. And you're a guy who you're a bit of a straight shooter. You say how it is. Do you think MMA needs more guys like you? Because we've guys like Ian McCall who speaks his mind. Also, who was on my show there last week. We've guys who really like to say how they feel, and then there's the other guys that really do tend to blow a little bit of smoke up people's backsides. Does MMA need more guys like you on a general level to progress the sport and really make it a fair level playing field for everyone?
Um, I guess I would say yes, but honesty has always been my policy since day one. That's how I do it. I speak my mind. Um, not really afraid of anybody, and
Do you think that's why
some
it's
people could
never?
argue.
Do you think that's why it's never worked out between you and this UFC because you like to speak your minds and you're straight shooters? I've said there.
I mean, I don't know that helped the situation, but that was definitely not the main issue when we're talking why that deal didn't get done. So maybe there was something there, but not the main issue. But I'm never afraid to speak my mind, and yes, I do think the sport in the world would be a better place if more people just said what they felt.
And is there a time when you're going to want to obviously go back to the US to fight on home soil? With all great respect to one championship, it's going to be hard to attract the guys there because a lot of the best guys in the world are obviously fighting in the UFC.
I don't know. I don't know if my time for the UFC will ever come. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm happy right now where I'm fighting in one championship, and they're treating me well. And like I said, my decision to come over here is looking better and better all the time.
Do you find it frustrating though sometimes when you see the level of talent in the UFC welterweight division that you can't actually fight these guys at the moment?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I knew that was the case when the decision I made was done. So it's just something I've come to live with.
And talk to me, is there a matchup you really like if you look at anyone? How do you perceive the UFC welterweight division? What do you think of the division itself?
I mean, they have a lot of good fighters, and yeah, a lot of good matchups for me. But they're definitely not going to come to pass anytime soon.
Definitely. And you made recent comments about Johnny Hendricks. And we look at the IV ban now in the United States, and do you feel as though a lot of guys are going to move, weight classes because they're not going to be able to use the IV? And do you think we're going to see a big shift in the divisions? Because I know you're a guy. Have you ever used the IV in the past?
Yeah, I have. I don't really. I never. I've used it a few times early in my career, and I didn't really feel a difference. So I don't. I don't. I haven't used it recently. Um, and I never felt that difference. I think people just got to take their jobs a little more seriously and their diet a little more seriously, and be more responsible with their weight and their weight cutting and how they do it.
Do you think we'll see that shift though, guys? Moving divisions, all over the place across the board in mixed martial arts.
No, I think if anything, people are going to start going down because they got off those steroids.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, let's move back to the fight, Ben. Obviously next week. What way are you going to win this fight? Is it going to be more of the Ben Askren we've known to see?
Yeah, I'd say TKO, end of the first round or mid second round.
Excellent stuff. And there's been talk of Josemar Palhares potentially signing with one championship. If you get to this win next week, would that be a fight that may interest you in the future? What's your perception on him as an athlete?
No, he's a filthy fighter. I mean, I think he is actually currently suspended for
Yeah,
2 years, and he deserves that, if not longer. I mean, this is a guy who's in a sport where the whole point is to get in the cage and hurt the other person. Um, and he has been fired from not one but two organizations and suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct. I mean, grasp that
yeah,
unsportsmanlike
yeah.
conduct when the conduct of the whole contest is try to go injure the person to the point where they can't compete anymore. So I mean, I think he probably needs to go find a new profession.
Yeah, definitely. Ben, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. Do appreciate you taking the time out from your jet lag. I'm sure you're struggling over there. It's always a hard one to adjust to. But ultimate fight prediction then for next week, TKO, yeah?
Yep, TKO, man.
Ben, where can the guys find you? Any sponsors? Anyone like to give a shout out to?
I think my gym's Rufus Sport and Evolve.
And yeah, at Funky Ben Askren on Twitter, isn't it?
Just at Ben Askren.
At
That's
Ben
it. Just
Askren.
keep it simple.
Cool. All right, Ben, really do appreciate the time.